Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Louisa. Today we're going to learn how to wire wrap a set of earrings, and I have one of them on. Let me show you the other one. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to zoom in real close. So it has some crystals, it has this element here, and then it has this wire wrapping swirl at the top. So we're going to learn how to do that today, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to need. So just get comfortable, get your things out, get your tools out, and you're definitely going to need some wire. So let me go ahead and put this down and set the materials out, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so here are the beautiful earrings we're going to be making today. As you can see, each one has a large rondelle, a pewter coin bead, and a 6mm fire polish bead. And in addition to that, we're going to try to make this beautiful wire swirl at the top. And of course, you'll need the ear hooks as well. Now the rondelles are about they're 8 by 10 in size. And I also added a bead cap on each end. So you'll need 2 bead caps for each earring. So what I tried to do as well, as you can see, I tried to match the rondelle and the crystal, the 6mm fine polish crystal. So if you use a bronze colored rondelle, you would want to use a bronze colored 6mm. But of course, there's no rule. You can use whatever you want. If you wanted to use a bronze colored rondelle and a silver 6mm to match the coin bead, that's perfectly fine as well. You're the master of your own universe. And just create what makes you feel happy and whatever you think looks attractive. So anyway, I got these coin beads at the International Gem and Jewelry Show, so I don't know if you'll be able to find them online. I kind of looked around to see if I could find something similar. And I'm sure if I look hard enough, I'd find them, but I wasn't able to find these. But I know that you can get this kind. This is another option. These are a little bit smaller. I think they're about 10 millimeters, but these you can still get online at www.drygulch.com. I'll put the link down below if you're interested, but they come in different colors and different designs. Here's one that has a swirl that's very similar to the other set that I showed you. And I think it's $6 for 20 beads, depending on what size you get. I know they come in different sizes. Here's a different size and a different pattern. We're going to actually use this one today in an antique silver. So I know you can get them there. And of course, you can always go to Michael's and get yourself a strand. Here's a strand of coin beads from Bead Gallery. And as you can see, they have the hole down the middle, which is what you want. These are a little bit fatter than the ones that I used in these earrings, but they would still work just fine. So anyway, what you're going to need is obviously two ear wires and 2 8 by 10 rondelles, 2 coin beads, and then 2 6mm beads. And of course, you'll need 2 bead caps for the rondelles. You don't have to use them, but it just looks nice, I think. And then I am going to use 18 gauge wire. Like I said, you can use 20 gauge if you want to, but 18 gauge is best for this project because it's nice and sturdy. If you use anything thinner than that, it may not work out as well. And of course, you'll need your round nose pliers. You'll need some chain nose pliers and some cutters. And I always like to use a wire straightener, nylon coated pliers to straighten out my wire. So let's gather our materials and we'll get started. All right, so I have cut myself 2 pieces of, these are 6 to 8, these are actually 6, but you can cut yourself 8 inches just to make sure you have enough wire to work with. So 2 6 to 8 inch pieces of wire and 2 smaller pieces. These are about, I don't know, maybe 4 inches. And that's what you're going to need to get started. So let's go ahead and grab the larger piece. And the first thing you're going to do is with your round nose pliers, you're going to make a little tiny, very tiny loop. Okay, so you get your round nose pliers, you put them right on the end of the wire, and you make a little the beginning of a little tiny loop, okay? That's how you get started. Now, what I usually do, I take my chain nose pliers and I squish it down so that I can get it really, really tight. It's a little tricky at first, but if you keep trying, eventually you'll get it. This is the hardest part, I think. Once you do that, and you think you have a nice tight loop, like I have right here, go ahead and straighten your wire. And I like to use my nylon coated pliers for this. You don't have to, but it's just, you know, a good idea. All right, so now that you've got a little tiny pea-shaped loop, you take your chain nose pliers again and you grab the loop as tight as you can, and then you begin turning it. Form that wire around each swirl, each, you know, loop that you make. Just keep following it around, holding it tightly with your pliers, and you want to do this until you get, you know, something that's about 10 to 12 millimeters wide. It all depends on what you want, okay? But when you get to your last loop, this is very important, okay? When you get to your last loop, you want to kind of leave a little space at the top of that, because that's where you're going to hook up your ear wire. And if you don't do that, I don't know if you can see that, if you don't leave that little space there, you won't be able to hook the ear wire to that. So leave a little space and then go to the opposite side of your swirl, okay, opposite that large space, and you want to grab it. Let me just go a little bit further. You want to grab the wire, the end of the wire, kink it 90 degrees, and this is what you should have. Okay, so you have the space at the top and then the rest of the wire coming down the opposite side of that swirl. All right, and again, I always like to use my nylon pliers to straighten it out a little bit, because it does get a little bent from time to time. So this is what we have, okay? Once you have that, then go ahead and thread on a bead cap, and then a large crystal, Rondelle crystal, the other bead cap, okay, so you've got this now, all right, and then your coin bead. Once you have your coin bead, you're ready to do the next loop, okay? So for the next loop, we're going to do a wrapped loop. You don't have to. You can use just do a regular loop, or use your one loop, one step looper if you want to. But I'm going to go ahead and do a wrapped loop for you. So with your chain nose pliers, you're going to grab the end of it, just like that. You're going to kink it, and then with your round nose pliers, whoops, round nose pliers, you grab it right there, depending on how big you want your loop, okay? Wrap it around the top piece of your pliers, switch, continue wrapping around. So now you have this, okay? And then using your chain nose pliers, you're going to do a couple of wraps. 2 to 3. I'm going to do 2 because this is pretty thick wire. Okay, and then very carefully go ahead and snip off your end and tuck in whatever piece of wire is sticking out, poking out. And that's what you have. Okay, I like to line up my loops, but with this you don't really have to, because you're just gonna put a 6 millimeter at the end, so it really doesn't matter, you know, which way the loop faces. I just like to make sure that it matches the swirl at the top. So this is what we have. Okay, so all right, so now we're going to go ahead and attach the 6 millimeter bead to this little loop that we formed. And like I said earlier, you want to get a shorter piece of wire. And what I did here is what I did earlier. I did a little tiny loop so that the bead doesn't fall off. Now, if you're a beginner beader, you might want to use a head pin because that might be easier for you. Just so that you don't have to worry about, forming the little loop, which is kind of difficult. So, you might want to use a head pin, and that way you don't have to worry about that bottom loop. But I went ahead and did a tiny loop. We're going to go ahead and thread the 6mm onto this. Push it all the way down to the bottom, just like that, okay? And now we're going to do the same thing that we did before when we did the wire wrapping. We're going to use the chain nose pliers and kink it a little bit. And you want that space in order to form a couple of loops. Grab your round nose pliers at the very end of it and go ahead and form the loop. Switch to the bottom end of the pliers. Continue wrapping around. Okay, so now we have this. And at this point, what we want to do is we want to attach this to the other loop. So before you start wrapping, go ahead and attach it just like this, okay? And it's a little tricky. This part's a little tricky, but you want to grab the loop that we just formed, okay? And you want to grab it nice and tight, and then with a second set of pliers, go ahead and form your 2 wraps, just like this, okay? And snip off the excess. Tuck in any sharp pieces that you might see. It's a good thing to feel it to make sure there are no sharp pieces. And so here's what we have so far. Whoops. Okay. So now all you need to do is get your ear wire. So let's grab this ear wire and we'll open it up. Okay. Slip it onto the top portion of that swirly piece. Close it up. And here we have one earring. There it is. Very pretty. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one off camera, and I'll see you in a few seconds. So here are the beautiful earrings we just made. Aren't they gorgeous? I just love this design. I think it's really, really pretty, and it looks really pretty on. There's a couple of things I need to point out though. If you do wire wrapping like I did, it's going to add to the length of the earring, okay, versus just doing a regular loop, because it does add to the length. So keep that in mind when you're selecting what size beads and everything. And also, because we're using 18 gauge wire, you want to make sure that your wire is nice and straight when you're putting on your 6mm bead, because you want to make sure that that it's straight, because if there's a little kink or anything, you may have a hard time putting that bead on. So that's very important as well. And other than that, I think this is a lovely earring, and I just I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you can come up with color combinations of your own. And anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.